Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to present at the 19th International Pragmatics Conference at the University of Queensland in Brisbane. And I'm Poulomi Chakravarty, represented Global Climate Association, and the topic of my presentation today is Pragmatics and Readability in Climate, a globally active and a multi-level framework for creating climate resilient communities. As we all know, the hot topic of the 21st century is that this is the era of global warming. This is official. 2024 was the world's warmest year recorded since recording began in the 1850s, and 2025 has broken those records as well. What are the current global climate change scenarios this year that we are all facing all over the world, wherever we are? The first one is the rising temperature trends that we all know that the IPCCs have wanted to set a rate of at 1.5 degrees, but it keeps increasing worldwide. There are extreme weather events. They may be the wildfires from California or the droughts in African nations, the floodings in Pakistan or India. The other things that we are facing are the melting of ice caps and rising sea levels. Recently, there was a case of a glacier melting in Sweden, taking away with the habitat of the people living there, and they had to become climate refugees. There is loss of biodiversity, that is the sixth mass extinction is happening right now. These all are causing economic and societal impacts all over the world. Now, what are the pragmatic approaches for climate change resilience? We have to build a connection between the work that we or the research that we do and the current issues that we are facing. Now, many lack a clear understanding of the magnitude and nature of climate change due to misinformation or insufficient data. There is a need to identify these challenges, that what do we do not know, address misinformation and knowledge gaps. Then the other thing that we can focus on is to integrate diverse insights, that may be indigenous knowledge, information from the knowledge from the natural world, the community, and the scientific inferences. Then the next approach is to ensure accessibility and understandable content for all. So the community must understand the issue that is happening, and they should understand in their own simple ways that they can comprehend the magnitude of the situation. Therefore, there is a need to contextualize with pragmatic principles for taking climate action. This may be done by leveraging AI and science for data synthesis, then strategically disseminating information to finally cultivate climate resilient societies. Now, what are the challenges that we are facing in climate information dissemination? The first is the scientific information that is out there is in complex language that hinders understanding of the climate concepts. The second one is the high cognitive load, which impairs comprehension and retention of the information that we see. We read the news one day and then we forget the next. Then, insufficient readability focus that fails to address diverse learning needs. So, communities all across the world have different needs and different understandings, and they have to be brought together under an umbrella to spread the new information that is relevant to them and for their benefit. The lack of contextual relevance reduces engagement with diverse audiences. Perhaps an information about glacier melting in the Arctic or Sweden or polar bears dying will not relate to people in Africa who are dying of drought. And the same goes for the wildfires. The people being inundated by floods will not be affected by the wildfire news of a different part of the world. So the information has to be very localized, but has to have a global context. Therefore, globally acceptable information. Then there is a limitation in terms of inadequate educated training that limits effective communication strategies and overgeneralization of issues. So, lack of personal connection causes low or no interest in the issues pertaining to climate. For this, we have come together to form a framework which is known as the 3C or the Climate Communication Channels Framework for Climate Literacy. So, in our quest to enhance climate literacy, we are presenting the Climate Communications Channel model as a pivotal framework which blends traditional and indigenous and modern knowledge to foster climate resilience communities. This has been inspired by the Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory and by applying pragmatic principles and John Dewey's educational theory. So, as Bronfenbrenner's ecological system theory says that everybody learns from their surroundings, first being the family, then going on towards the community, and then the society as a whole. So, when we bring in the knowledge from our external factors into the learning environment, it helps to understand the situations and it makes us more resilient to fight the challenges that we have in our current generation. This model also emphasizes pragmatic approaches to climate education, ensuring content is both accessible and relevant across diverse educational platforms. So that can be from K-12 level to higher education, including community training programs by structured climate knowledge transfer across interdependent societal layers. What are the 5 stages of uh, 3C model that we'll go through one by one? The first is the collection of or understanding of the local and indigenous knowledge. So we have to realize the community by themselves, those who are the most vulnerable to climate changes, they have deep within themselves a lot of climate knowledge in their own communities, and they can bring forward that knowledge when they add it to the surrounding areas of themselves and the policymakers' knowledges and the scientific knowledge. This can create a robust framework to build against climate disasters. Second is then scientific validation and documentation. So here at this stage, whatever the community knowledge is, it can be um, used by involving scientists and educators working collaboratively to validate these records and these insights. The third is integration and customization. Understand what knowledge is important, what it should be there, and it should fit it to the local educational curricula and community programs, maybe it in local languages, vernacular, or in a way that it is clear to them, and mold it in a way that helps the community. Then comes on the stage 4 where knowledge dissemination is done and application. So educators and knowledge facilitators utilizes the refined educational materials which has been curated in the stage 3 by knowledge processing centers to teach climate concepts tailored to different learner groups. The fifth and the final stages, local testing and adaptation. The strategies and educational content are tested and adapted within local settings, ensuring they effectively address the specific climate challenges. How are they integrating the pragmatic principles into climate literacy? So pragmatic principles, as we know, focuses on action and experience, emphasizing the practical utility of knowledge rather than abstract principles or just the words. So the key ideas are to integrate actionable knowledge that emphasizes knowledge leads to tangible actions, interconnect interconnectedness, understanding the experience, knowledge, and action are interconnected, experiential inquiry, advocating for learning through direct experiences, then practical learning, stressing the real world application of lessons, and finally the utilities, assessing the usefulness of ideas in practical scenarios. So, what are the applications to climate theory, climate literacy in this case? So, as John Dewey's educational theory states, that learners engage with climate science or any science through active hands-on project. For example, students conducting local environment impact assessments of maybe an upcoming project that might affect their community. And what are the pragmatic approach to research? Research focuses on developing solutions that can be immediately implemented to mitigate climate effects. For example, based projects that adapt local agricultural practices to changing weather patterns. And that can be immediately followed by those communities, and it will help them to combat those specific local issues. How are we going to build the climate resilient community through these approaches? So, first, if a community is equipped with the knowledge, they have the skills to access and respond to climate risks. Interconnectedness, where fostering collaboration between scientists, local governments, policymakers, and community groups to ensure cohesive response to climate change, and how the pragmatic therapy is in action here, implementing community health initiatives that address climate related health challenges such as heat waves and pollutions. By applying pragmatic principles to climate literacy, we can create effective, resilient, and adaptive educational frameworks that empower communities to face and fight the impacts of the climate challenge. And here we utilized for the framework the Flesch's Reading Ease score in climate literacy, where it helped in to simplify complex information, utilizing the Flesch's Reading E-score, the climate information which might be very uh, complex for certain learner groups. It can be made into a simpler, easily understandable material. So it enhances engagement, and then it can be tailored to particular audience needs, and then it can bridge the comprehension gaps for multi multi-level of international participants maybe. Then it finally helps in supporting global understanding of the issues. We are presenting the case study of the Terra Conference 2024, which was used to test the 3C framework, where a series of public facing programs hosted on Earth Day. It was to test the effectiveness of the climate communication channels model in hybrid mode, and the participants were from 5 continents here. The participants included school students, college students, professionals on a global scale. There were 4 main programs held. One was the of them we'll be discussing in detail. That was the Climate Conundrum Challenge, where targeted grades were 6th to 10th grades. Participants selected a scenario that were created by the using all those frameworks above and answered questions to deepen their climate knowledge. Then there was another in competition that was the climate data analytics showdown, which was more to generate interest about analysis of climate data to make them understand that what is the weather pattern of their places, or how to understand what the difference between a temperature and humidity and how it impacts them. The final was the hands-on experience of something known as the Planet Plus Prosper Pledge video challenge, where participants from all over the world, they created videos pledging action for climate by showing them they showed they did something to engage other participants or the community in creating climate resilience for themselves, emphasizing community involvement and personal commitment. The final was the Territorial Dialogue series, where global experts provided insights into current climate issues and solutions. These are few of the images from the event that took place. And this comes to the climate conundrum challenge, where the 3C model framework was used to create scenarios. This is particularly in Indian context, where there is a lot of heat island effect, which is experienced by citizens of northern part of India, where the temperatures were over 45 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius in the year 2024. And also they have a lot of loss in canopies in urban setup, which is completely a concrete jungle. So these scientific concepts of urban heat island effect and loss of canopy was put into story format, and local research by Indian researchers were added as references for these, and these were created in a way that students of grade 6 to 10 could understand them, and they were asked a bunch of questions based on these scenarios, and they were asked to find solutions. If this is the case, what will you do? And this helped in thought provoking ideas of where do people themselves stand, and if they can take any steps to create environment or micro environment which is more suitable to their own needs. How can they manage their own microclimates in their own small communities? And the solutions they came up, they said up to do terrace farming in more concreted areas, to create vertical gardens, to give water to animals that were parched from the high heat. So there were different solutions that came up. Some of them were very simple and it could be done by everyone. What are the key takeaways? So, Terra Confluence 2024 utilized the 3C climate communications channel model and provided a comprehensive approach to climate literacy. And the 3C model structure, inspired by the Bronfenbrenner's theory of ecological systems, enabled multi-layered engagement from K-12 students, that is the micro system, to global participants, which can be considered as the macro system, ensuring culturally resonant knowledge transfer. And the climate conundrum challenge embodied pragmatism and John Dewey's theory, fostering actionable knowledge through problem solving, storytelling, and experiential inquiry on localized climate issues. Then finally, pragmatic application of the Flesch's reading Ease score simplified complex climate science, managing cognitive knowledge load, and enhancing comprehension from diverse learner, especially K-12 students. The framework's ultimate goal is to equip communities with accessible, relevant, and actionable climate knowledge to navigate and respond to environmental challenges. The effective climate literacy is crucial, requiring accessible and contextually relevant information to address global challenges. The 3C climate communication channels model ensures culturally adaptive and actionable knowledge transfer across societal layers through its structured stages. Case studies such as the Climate Conundrum Challenge within Terra Confluence 2024 demonstrate the framework's effectiveness in engaging diverse learners. And finally, a pragmatic approach enhances climate literacy by ensuring that scientific information is not only understood but also contextualized and made actionable for diverse audiences, fostering practical learning and community resilience. Here are the few references. With that, I thank you all.